We interviewed Dr. Lisette Farias, who has her PhD in occupational therapy. She is currently the assistant professor at Karolinska Institute, where she does research, teaches undergraduate and master's courses. She's also the supervisor of European Master of Science and a member of the eNote board.
Dr. Farias spent her undergraduate years in Chile, where she received her Bachelor's of Science in Human Occupation and a professional degree in occupational therapy. She received her master's degree at the European Masters of Science in Occupational Therapy and received her PhD in Health and Rehabilitation Services in the field of occupational science at Western University in Ontario, Canada. Prior to her current career, she was an occupational therapist in the Children's Rehabilitation National Hospital and the Stroke Rehabilitation Hospital in Chile. She then worked at Karolinska University Hospital as an occupational therapist in children's rehabilitation. She was inspired to work as an occupational scientist while working on her master's degree. She wanted to research more than just diagnoses and more about identity, motivation, socioeconomic, and political influences on occupation. She decided she wanted to know what was out there beyond the therapy. The focus of her research is on exploring and addressing issues of inequality that affect the promotion of people's well-being. Her research is an examination of political, socioeconomic, and cultural aspects that may exclude particular groups of society from doing what they want or preventing them from fully participating as citizens. She is also exploring occupational therapy's role and contribution to a better society, not only in health and rehabilitation. She's looking at how we can expand practice to reach those who can't afford services and our assumptions of what is normal or a disability, and criticizing the concepts of how we think about people and how we categorize them.
Although she has been published more than 10 times and has won various occupational science awards and scholarships, the work she is most proud of is her doctoral work and her biomedical book. Her doctoral work won her an award from the Canadian Society for Occupational Science in 2014, which allowed her to present her findings in a conference in Ontario. She was then invited to work on a biomedical report with a group of anthropologists. She wrote about her work in Guatemala, where she researched how overly westernized medicine and politicizing maternal care can increase maternal mortality during childbirth.
Dr. Farias participated in researching young Indigenous mothers in rural Guatemala. She resented that young women were being portrayed as poor humans without a critical analysis of their context and active resilience. Her research worked to show the cultural and socio-economic influences on these Indigenous women's choices, as well as their possibilities to engage and participate in occupations within their community. We believe her research truly shows the diversity within the field of occupational science, as well as how occupational scientists are bringing new, valuable perspectives to research taking place all over the world.
We asked Dr. Farias what her future research plans consisted of. She answered by saying that she wants to focus on health equity in Sweden, especially focusing in on the immigrant population. She mentioned that the health equity in Sweden is not as good as everyone thinks it is. She also wants to focus her attention on barriers in social situations, such as discrimination and language barriers, and how that can affect occupations. She wants to continue researching these things and hopes to make improvements in her own country.
We asked Dr. Farias how she finds occupational balance in her own life. Her response was very family-oriented, as she mentioned that she moved back to Sweden when she had her baby daughter. Sweden offers her the most flexibility with work, as hours are very lenient in Sweden. She wants to be home taking care of her baby, and in Sweden, Dr. Farias only works 65% of the year, giving her time for her other occupations and to focus on her family, which is most important to her. We also asked Dr. Farias for advice as OS students and future professionals. She suggested to always keep an open mind. The field is so big and there is so much to do. Her own research is just starting to get into health inequality, global health, and societal challenges. She encourages us to keep looking at OS as a source of expansion and to research anything that interests us. She encourages us to expand beyond the classic healthcare system by growing into the community and understanding the world around us.
She believes that OS is so important because it brings a new perspective that is both necessary and complementary to other disciplines that study humans. Because occupational scientists focus on doing, she believes that they can support the development of human beings as citizens and part of society because they see what hinders these social transformations and phenomenon. This makes it very complementary to public and global health and finding health inequalities. Research allows you to look at all occupational-based things that are not directly related to practice and look more at the socioeconomic and cultural aspects of life and occupation. Occupational science is so new. It is under development, so I feel like I belong to a new generation of occupational scientists that are expanding the frameworks of research and thinking. I believe that occupational science now, it has its own identity. I don't see that occupational science depends on occupational therapy or that occupational therapy depends on occupational science anymore. I feel that yes, it can be a symbiotic relationship, but I don't think that occupational has to, all the time, bring new knowledge to occupational therapy. It has its own research.